Today's episode of Darkness Radio is brought to you by Microdose. Get out of pain, get out of anxiety, and start treating yourself a little bit better. Try Microdose. Microdose is a CBD THC gummy that will get you out of pain, get you out of anxiety, and get you into feeling good again. To learn more about microdosing THC, go to microdose.com and use the code DARKNESS to get free shipping and 30% off your first order. Links can be found in the show description, but again, that's microdose.com, code DARKNESS. Degrees right here in the Twin Cities. We're talking sunny skies on the drive as you're driving downtown right now. It's Cruiser the Bruiser. It's a supernatural news right here in Parashare on Darkness Radio. You know, I could be a really irritating morning DJ. I could leave this job tomorrow, Bruiser, and I can do this voice all day long. I was trained at Brown Institute in downtown Minneapolis. By God, I could keep doing this all day long, but I'm not gonna.
You're all set. You're fired up. You're watching the news all night long and just thought, hey, I can do better.
No. It's just, you know, we gotta build up the t-shirt market. Cruiser the Bruiser right here on Supernatural News Parashare. It's a Wednesday.
Wow, a little Harry Carey at the end there.
A little bit, you know, on a Wednesday. You gotta, that's the thing when you do the voice, you gotta drop it at the end.
You are so Harry Carey.
That's
right
the thing. How you doing, Bruiser?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm even better now that I got to hear the morning news Harry Carey child.
You got to get it up there, you know. You got to get it up. That's what she said. Speaking of that's what she said, I got to get the name down here right. I got a thank you to say right off the top of the program. It's Azel Rivera, who threw out a recommendation for us.
Really?
To a big time name. When I say big time name, does the name BJ Novak ring any bells?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, from The Office.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so BJ Novak is on Twitter, and he's asking for recommendations for podcasts that have to do with, he says, does anyone know a great podcast about aliens and or the supernatural? And Azel stepped up and said, Darkness Radio.
There it is.
Bang.
One-stop shop, BJ. That's all you need.
So, Azel, man, thank you.
Yeah.
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 Hey,
I'm a big
man.
fan of The Office.
Well, not
His
just
character on there was basically what I was in college.
well, yeah, but not just that, but BJ's like a big time filmmaker now.
Yeah, he's got a new movie coming out, which actually looks very interesting.
Yeah.
Where I believe he accidentally solves a murder or something like that.
Yeah.
Because he's doing a podcast.
Yeah. Yep. That's exactly it. So,
are we going to start solving murders, Tim? That's the thing. Podcast host solving murders.
I could barely get around, to be honest with you.
I do all the legwork, and I'm not as mobile as you are.
Actually, if you want to carry me on your back like Luke did Yoda, I think we could get that done. So
that's our T-shirt.
That's it.
Bruiser the Cruiser. It's me as Luke, you as Yoda.
Me walking around with a microphone.
That can draw that up for us, please do.
That's right. Me walking around with a microphone doing this irritating voice.
Right in my ear, too, it would be.
Sorry. Didn't mean to do that to you, Bruiser.
I'm a fan of the Harry Carey. I love the Harry Carey.
It's not really a Harry Carey. It's just the irritating blaring voice. Everybody has the puker voice.
Yeah.
And for those of you who want to know, no, I never used that voice in radio. Never.
No?
Nope, never did.
We could have gone on to huge things, Tim, if you did right off the bat.
No, it's no, God, no. You know, in fact, they did a drill with us at Brown. Everybody get it out right now. That was the deal. Everybody get it out right now. Do your worst radio impression right now.
Yeah.
So everybody had to do that. Everybody had to get it out right now.
You could have been the next Don Imus. Think about it if you would have done that.
Imus kind of had the thing going, you know.
He did.
Yeah, he was kind of the smooth daddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got it tucked down here, didn't he?
Yes, he did, but he still had the ups and the downs.
He had the ups and the downs. That's right. He said a whole lot of crap that didn't make sense.
Nope. No, he had a random duck noise every once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my dad used to listen to on car rides, and I was always like, why are we listening to this? So much other stuff out there.
There was a lot of stuff that didn't make sense about Imus. I never got him.
I never did either.
No.
But my dad loved him.
Yeah.
Speaking of my dad, he had his medical procedure, and he's doing fine, and he's in recovery and on the way to healing. So thank you, everybody out there that sent out a prayer and healing request. Papa Bruiser is doing amazing.
Good.
I got the text about 10 minutes before we went on. So
good. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Very good to hear. Glad to hear that Papa Bruiser's doing good. And by the way, that doesn't mean we stop. That doesn't mean we stop praying for Papa Bruiser. We keep
still
it going.
Gotta heal.
Yep. Keep the good energy going for Papa Bruiser, and let's see him through all the way to the end. So he's 100%.
Yeah, and I'll even tell him, hey, BJ Novak might be listening to the show, and he'll go, who? Because he doesn't watch TV.
Good. Yeah. Keep him healing and confused. That's a good way.
That's the best way to treat him.
That's the way I do it with my old man too.
Exactly.
Hey, Dad, look over there. What? Huh? Yeah. Right over there, Dad. Take a look over there. I do that a lot to him, so he doesn't even know it's me. Yeah. He thinks there's
he calls you up, Timmy. Some radio DJ just keeps harassing me, and I don't know why.
I think it's Don Imus. I thought Imus was dead. Yeah. I don't know, Dad. Evidently he's back. Who knew?
He's haunting you. You want to come on the show?
Yeah. I think you have a strange phenomena going on at your house, Dad. You might want to check that out. Yikes. So, yeah, big show today on Supernatural News Parashare. We got a couple of your Parashares to read today. If you have, by the way, if you have anything that's been going on in your home, maybe you've had a encounter with a ghost, maybe you've had aliens in your front yard, which would be unusual, but we like to hear about it. You've been out in the woods and think you've seen Bigfoot, anything like that, write to us, tim@darknessradio.com. We'll air it right here on the air, and we'll read your experience. And if you'd like us to weigh on it, we'll do that as well. We should just jump right into it here, Bruiser. We have, by gosh, we have stories. Do we have stories? I'm telling you.
I like stories. I've been keeping my ear to the ground. There's a lot going on this week. So
there is. Can I give you one non-paranormal thing this week, which I thought, I came up with a great idea for marketing for us. I know you're going to be like, huh? But yeah, I noticed as I was wheeling around the internet getting the stories this week, this is almost paranormal to begin with. You may say, Tim, that's not paranormal. It's definitely unusual. 54-year-old Donna D'Erico is now on OnlyFans. Do you remember Donna D'Erico?
I remember her. She was Baywatch, right?
Yeah, Baywatch. Yeah. She just said, well, as long as everybody else is doing it, I'm doing it too. Good for you, first of all, Donna.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Body positive. Not that OnlyFans isn't just nudity, though. Like, everyone thinks that. It's not. But that's what it's become.
Yeah, exactly. So Donna jumps on OnlyFans. Her first picture is a picture of her she's like got a bikini top on and she's sitting on a toilet. I don't know. You go figure. Who knows?
I had her poster on my wall as a kid.
Did you?
I have to admit it. Well, it was a Baywatch poster. She was in it. I was a big Baywatch fan. The storylines were just intriguing.
Really?
For that 13, 14-year-old boy that I was when it came out.
Storylines were intriguing.
Oh, yeah.
Is that like reading
that's hooked me. Just like I read the articles in the Playboys.
Right. The articles are real good in Playboy. I think I've told the story before on the air, but when my grandfather, my mother's father, was slowly going senile, I walk in the living room and he's sitting there watching TV, and he watched a lot of news. I mean, anytime he could watch the news, he was watching the news. This time I walk in, he's watching Baywatch, and I go, Grandpa, what you watching? And he's sitting there and he's looking at the screen. He looks at me and goes, I don't know, but probably 30 years ago, I'd have been real excited by it. So I went, hey, why not?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So, I figured.
In my defense, when I was 13 or 14, I was a lifeguard. So I technically was watching the show for
training.
Yeah. Like I could do, to this day, I can still do a really good slow motion run. Now, the difference between back then and now is now my slow motion run is me running full speed. Where back then, it was actually me trying to run in slow motion.
What's a run? I can do a one leg hop. I can't do a run.
I was at the airport this weekend, and an older man had to be in his 60s. Bless his heart. Gets off. I don't know where he got, but he came running past me. He's going fast, and you see him stop. He looks right at me and goes, "Too old to be running for this shit. The plane takes off. The plane takes off." And he just starts walking away. I'm like, I want that feeling, sir.
God love him. I know how he feels. Yeah.
Yep.
So Donna D'Errico is on OnlyFans, and I thought to myself, I got a great idea. I got a great idea for us to get in touch with our listeners.
Okay, we're gonna start an OnlyFans.
We're gonna start an OnlyFans.
I'm in.
But here's the deal.
I've been playing around with the idea.
Have you?
Yep.
But here's the idea. This is an OnlyFans where we have our listeners pay us to put it on.
I like that.
So it goes in tiers, Bruiser. Here's the deal. It goes in tiers. We start with nearly nude. And that's the cheap tier, right? That's like the $5 tier a month, right?
Yep.
And then it gets more expensive to see us with more clothing on.
So the top tier is us in just like parkas?
Yeah, it's like the Antarctic version, right? So we're trapped in the Antarctic and all you see is just a couple of eye slits and nothing but us in like parkas and, Sub-Zero parkas and snowmobile pants.
I'm in. Let's do it.
Boots.
It beat my idea. My idea was start an OnlyFans, but only show pictures of my fans on the OnlyFans.
Oh, well, see, that's a great one, too. Yeah, you just send your pictures in and we put them up on OnlyFans. It's just you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're silly. Well, but not nudes.
No, we're a fan
No. But just you guys, like in silly pictures,
Tasteful, yeah.
Yeah, tasteful, silly pictures. That would be even better. I think that's an even better idea.
Well, we could mix the two together too.
Yeah, I like that idea as well. I mean,
I'm in.
That's a good idea as well. We'll have to kick it around. We'll have to see what people say. Email
you
us.
You had me on OnlyFans.
I think so too. We should do something that's just beyond the norm. But yeah, now that Donna D'Errico has jumped in, by God, we got to do something. We got to do something beyond the norm.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
we do.
There's just, I just thought of putting on more layers for more money.
I think that's great. That is an amazing idea.
Nobody wants to see me without clothes. I know that.
I should start pitching that to promoters. Hey, I'll wrestle in this, but you pay me a little bit more and I'll put a shirt on.
Exactly. Put
tights on. And I'll put pants on. Eventually I'll get to where I'm wearing nothing but their merchandise.
There you go.
See?
I will wear your sponsor's clothes for a certain amount of of money. See? Yeah.
We're influencers. Look at us.
Yeah, I'm telling you. We're like a not so great looking version of Kim Kardashian. Just saying. Yeah. Boy, have we got stories this week, Bruiser, and we should get to it.
It's only downhill from here after the Donna D'Errico news.
It is, yeah. Well, it really is. Robot dogs. I keep getting stories from people about robot dogs. They want me to cower under my desk and just pee myself into a puddle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a live dog, and it's better than a robot dog. I recommend it to everybody.
Are you eventually going to strap an RPG to Ziggy's Star Pup and defend yourself from the end of the world? Is that how this is going to end? If my neighbor buys a robot dog, I'm strapping an RPG to the back of her back. Yeah, I think
if there's any robot dogs in the area, there's a house. I want to say about a mile from here.
Yeah.
By one of Mrs. Bruiser and I found like a little breakfast spot we can go to. Mm-hmm. And the house right next door to it has like a Roomba for their front lawn.
What?
So it's an automatic lawnmower. And she goes, look at that. I says, that's insane because now they just took and put lethal weapons on it and it's driving around free. it's going to kill somebody. And every time we go, this thing is out in the front yard taunting me.
Here's what you do.
Yeah.
Here's what you do. I'm going to send you down a few $100. I don't know how I'm going to get it. Maybe I'll get a collection together from a bunch of like-minded individuals. We'll send you down the money. You walk over to that neighbor's house with a sledgehammer in one hand and the money in the other. You hand the money to the neighbor, say, it's a pleasure to meet you. No hard feelings. Walk over and whack that sumbitch with the sledgehammer. Not the neighbor, but the lawnmower until it's dead.
I will. I've almost hit it with my car the other day.
Kill it dead. Just kill it dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like they are arming the robots now, Tim, is basically what this has come down to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It can't happen. It just can't happen.
And there's children playing across the street. That was the thing that really bugged me. So what if this thing goes rogue and crosses the street and mows down these children?
It starts taking off little toes.
Exactly.
That's then it gets the taste of human flesh, my friend.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then Skynet's alive and it's led by the automatic lawnmowers.
That's right. See?
Yeah.
You know what? I'll start with this. See? You've got the right idea. You've got the right idea. I knew it. Well, this robot dog with the RPG, the one that everybody's looking at online and going, ha ha, Tim, see, ha, look at it shoot. Isn't that cute? Look at it shoot things off its back. Ha ha ha. Well, guess what? It was back demoed at a Russian arms fair. So now the Russians have it. Are you laughing now? Ha ha. Look at it. It's going to the Ukraine. Ha ha ha. Are you laughing now?
Yeah.
There's
nothing good about this dog.
No. It's not cute. It's not funny. It's not cunny. It's not fute. See what I did there?
I saw what you did there.
That's called bass backwards.
There's no reason to put rockets on dogs.
No.
I mean, watch Batman Returns. They put rockets on penguins, and that didn't turn out right.
It was kind of cute, though. I'm not gonna lie.
It was.
That one was cute. All right, that one was cute. Yeah. At a Russian arms fair this week, a developer showed off their new creation in the logical next step of the robot arms race, a Boston Dynamics-style dog robot with an RPG strapped to its back. Nothing comes good of that. Nothing, just nothing.
Nothing comes of good with the Russian arms fair.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Come over here, comrade. Look what we have over here. Isn't this cute? It is very cheap.
Puppy.
Yes,
That's a little puppy.
It's a robot.
Never mind the RPG.
It's a robot arms puppy. A video uploaded by RIA Novosti is a Russian state-owned news agency, shows the robot in action, in which the robot tiptoes around before laying down on the ground. Its RPG pointed forward. The robot itself is dressed in something akin to the black outfit of a ninja. Oh, good.
Oh, good. It's a ninja dog. Way to go.
Yeah. Its eyes, which are presumably cameras, are peeking out. RIA Novosti said it spoke to the developers and wrote in a Telegram post that they said this is a sample of the M81 robotic system capable of conducting aim shooting and transporting weapons, and for civilian purposes, it can be used in the emergency zone for reconnaissance, passage through rubble, and delivery of medicines. When used in combat, the robotic dog can also be engaged in target designation, patrolling, and security. Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
The video was taken at Army 2022, an ongoing arms fair in Moscow. Oh, so it's not just one weekend. It's like a Renaissance festival. It goes on for months.
It's like, here in the States, every Saturday or Sunday, you have the farmer's market. They have the arms market.
Oh, Jesus. The conference is taking place from Monday until Sunday and has around 1,500 participants and over 28,000 exhibits.
Jeez.
You know how you hit it on the head. It's like a farmer's market.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just anybody can show up and sell arms.
You want guns? We got guns. You want grenades? We got grenades. You want the vodka? We got the vodka.
You want fruit? There's no fruit. One exhibitor also showed off an unmanned military truck, which has no cockpit.
Oh, geez.
How do you like that?
Yeah. That thing's just flying around and you can't do anything about it.
Nope. Not a thing. In July, Motherboard reported on a YouTube channel that uploaded video of a similarity-styled robot dog with a working submachine gun, the one you all laughed about and sent that one to me too, attached to it. Then this month, a hacker found that the particular model of robot used ships with a kill switch, which can be used to disable the robot. Thank God.
Yeah, but the thing is, who's in control of that kill switch? It's not like you and I have a kill switch where we just see it, we hit it.
Yeah, it's probably the owner. Is my guess.
And he didn't buy that because he doesn't want to use it.
Yeah.
It's crazy Russians.
All right. We'll take a deep breath here. We'll clear the palate. And then just try to frighten you a little bit more. As a gigantic jet that shot into space may be the most powerful lightning bolt ever detected. By the way, did you see that powerful lightning bolt a day or two ago?
Yeah, I did. It wasn't a lightning bolt?
No.
Oh, see, the pictures make it look like it's a lightning bolt.
It does, but it wasn't. The lightning bolt over Oklahoma was one of the most rarest and most powerful on Earth. As the sky turned dark, a heavy rain fell, and a bolt of lightning crackled through the air, but instead of striking down toward the ground or zipping sideways between clouds, this lightning bolt does something unexpected. It blasted straight upward from the top of the cloud and shot 50 miles into the sky, grazing towards the lower edge of space. Bolts like these are called gigantic jets. Well, it was a bolt of lightning, but...
Okay, it was. Okay, yeah. It wasn't a jet. Yeah. All right.
They are the rarest and most powerful sort of lightning, occurring a few times, or as few as 1,000 times a year, and emitting more than 50 times as much energy as a typical lightning bolt. And now, scientists have just detected the single most powerful gigantic jet yet. In a study published August 3rd in the journal Science Advances, researchers analyzed a gigantic jet that shot out of a cloud over Oklahoma in 2018. By studying the jet's radio wave emissions using satellite and radar data, the team learned that the bolt moved approximately 300 Columbos. And that's not Peter Falk. That's not that Columbo. No.
That's a lot of Columbos.
Yeah, it is.
A lot of glass eyes.
It is. 300 Columbos of energy from the top of the cloud to the lower ionosphere. The layer of charged particles that separates the Earth's upper atmosphere from the vacuum of space are roughly 60 times the 5. I think this is coulomb of output of a typical lightning bolt. The charge transfer is nearly double the previous largest by a gigantic jet and is comparable to the largest ever recorded from cloud to ground strokes. I almost said strikes, but it's strokes. The researcher wrote in the study, capturing such detailed data.
You don't want to confuse the strikes and the strokes.
No, you don't. No. There's certain situations where you don't. Yeah, that could be difficult. Capturing such detailed data on the massive stroke of lightning required an equally massive stroke of luck. A citizen scientist based in Hawley, Texas, filmed the jet with a low-light camera on May 14th, 2018, watching as a gargantuan discharge shot out of a cloud top before connecting with charged particles in the ionosphere, some 60 miles above the ground. Scientists analyzing the footage found that, as luck would have it, the jet occurred very near the center of a large lightning mapping array, a network of ground-based radio antennas used to map the locations and times of lightning strikes. The jet was also within range of several weather radar systems, as well as a weather-watching satellite network. With these sources combined, the researchers studied the size, shape, and energy output of the gigantic jet in unprecedented detail. The researchers found that the jet's highest frequency radio wave emissions, the kind that LMAs are built to detect, came from small structures called streamers, which was also the name of the club that I used to bounce at in college.
Streamers was, huh?
Yeah, it wasn't a very tough club. I mean, non-alcoholic, and yeah, it was just bad. Which develop at the very tip of a lightning bolt and create a direct electrical connection between the cloud top and the lower ionosphere. Lead study author Levi Boggs, a research scientist at the Georgia Tech Research Institute, said in a statement. The strongest electric current, meanwhile, flowed considerably behind the streamers in a section called the leader. The data also showed that while the streamers were relatively cool with a temperature of roughly 400 degrees Fahrenheit, not cool in my book,
That's cool, man. That's like Fonzie cool.
I guess. The leader was scorching hot with a temperature of more than 8,000 degrees Fahrenheit. You get hit with that, I think you're done.
Yeah.
This discrepancy is true of all lightning strikes, not just gigantic jets, the researchers wrote. So why does lightning sometimes blast up instead of down, you may ask? Well, scientists still aren't totally clear on that, but it likely involves some sort of blockage that prevents lightning from escaping through the bottom of the... Don't produce many cloud-to-ground lightning strikes. So there you go. So I gotta
watch out for the blockage.
That's true. You gotta watch out for the blockage. That could hurt real bad. So I gotta ask this question. You know, people survive lightning strikes all the time, although there's a huge smell of ham coming from them after they get hit. That's a joke. That's a joke, son. You can laugh at that. So my question is, how do they survive when the tip of lightning is at something like 8,000 degrees? Even if it's only 400 degrees, they still survive.
You got to think, though, when someone gets struck by lightning, it's running through their body at the lowest point because lightning goes from the earth up. Mm-hmm. So it's running through their body so quickly.
So is it the rubber in the soles of their shoes that keeps it from...
It might be, but I've heard of people barefoot, or wearing cleats or... golfing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know if the heat is that, maybe it's just the jet lightning that gets that hot, not the regular lightning.
That may be.
Because if you get hit by one of those, you're done. Like the picture, I could tell right away. Like, oh, if that hits somebody, they're done.
Yeah. It's an intense picture.
When you see a tree get hit by lightning, it doesn't stay on fire, but it has scorch marks on it.
I actually saw one of the most intense shots of lightning ever. I was driving one night out on 610, Highway 610, and I saw a tree explode out onto the highway. I had to dodge or else my car would have been hit by the actual wood. I mean, a tree explode, Bruiser.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
It got hit directly and the tree, boom, from the inside. And I've never seen a tree explode from a lightning strike before, but the tree was shattered.
Doesn't it look like you drop a box of toothpicks? Isn't that what it looks like?
Yes. Yeah. It's like you drop a box of toothpicks. It was all over the road.
Yeah.
It was, and I had to take my car and accelerate and drive through it like I was Luke Skywalker. I almost felt like Luke Skywalker in that last scene in A New Hope when he's driving through through that little cavernous
trenches and the
area.
Death Star.
Exactly, the trenches and the Death Star. It's like having to hit the exhaust port and get out of there.
Why don't we explode? Because trees are common. They either explode or they split. Why don't we explode?
That's what I'm saying. What is it that holds us together in that extreme heat? I
wonder if it's something to do with our organs and our fluids in our body. I don't know. Because but trees have water in them, don't they? Trees have water.
They do, but they're not all. There's not as much water. We're mainly water. You would think our water particles would expand and explode.
Just a big goo.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know.
I'm curious now. I can see maybe not starting on fire because of the water, but how come we're not exploding? Because every tree I've seen either split or explodes.
Right. So I don't know. Maybe there's somebody out there who knows. They can email us at tim@darknessradio.com and tell.
What about animals? Because you got to think a horse with the horseshoes or something. If he's out in a storm, do horses get struck by lightning? Do cows?
Oh, I'm sure they do.
Yeah. You don't hear stories about that.
Maybe it happens, but it doesn't get reported.
Right.
Yeah.
Curious. I haven't thought this much into lightning strikes, but a lot of good questions we're bringing up.
Yeah. I'm sure it happens.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's farmers that listen to the show that could tell us that too.
Yeah.
That, they've had livestock that have been hit by lightning.
Yeah.
I'm sure of it. Yeah.
And I'm curious what happens to them. Do they explode like a tree or are they like us?
I got to think, again, bodies are made up mainly of water. I'm sure I'm sure it's the same deal. So
it's a good question though.
Yeah. Speaking of things made up mainly of water, a Harvard professor believes that the alien technology isn't made up mainly of water, but he believes that the alien tech could have crashed into the Pacific Ocean, which is mainly water, and he wants to find it. Professor Avi Loeb is out there, and he believes that a meteorite may have crashed into the Pacific Ocean in 2014 and may be made of a material that one would expect to be in their favorite sci-fi movie. Avi Loeb, the longest-serving chair of Harvard University's Department of Astronomy, is convinced that this object may be alien technology or a meteorite of unprecedented material strength. None of this is possible to confirm without physically studying the object, so the professor has planned an expedition to retrieve it that will cost over $1 million in funding from private donors. This would be the first time that humans will put their hands on the material that makes an object that came from another star. Ooh, kinky.
Yeah, look at that.
Put their hands on it, huh?
Underwater.
Listen here, Professor. While the data now confirms that the object is of interstellar origin, the path to confirming this wasn't immediate. Using data from government sensors primarily used for national security as part of our missile defense system, Loeb and his student studied multiple meteors to see if any stood out. He says, I found the catalog that the government compiled of meteorites that were detected by government sensors at our missile warning system. That's all it says for this sentence.
It just ends there?
It just ended there. He said, I asked my student to check if any of the meteors, the fastest moving meteors, could have arrived to Earth from outside our solar system, he explained. There was one in particular that sparked the interest of Loeb and his student, Amir Siraj, based on the speed of the meteor and how much of the object burned up upon entry. Loeb determined that it must be made of a material that is tougher than iron. And so this one was an outlier in terms of its composition. It was also an outlier in terms of its speed outside of the solar system. It moved at least twice as fast as stars moved around the sun in the vicinity of the sun. Despite the government releasing limited data due to national security concerns, he had discovered something groundbreaking. A paper he wrote with a student laid out what he believed to be true. But 3 years after writing his findings, a major development confirmed what he knew all along. After a few years, the release of a letter from the U.S. Space Command and the Department of Defense stating explicitly that the meteor at the 99.999% confidence level, it came from outside the solar system. Well, there you go.
Okay.
Armed with new evidence validating his findings, Loeb decided to take action and make moves to recover the object. He now has the task of finding an object that most likely fractured on impact, leaving fragments possibly the size of pennies lost at the bottom of the ocean. It's a challenge that might seem insurmountable in the vast existence of the Pacific Ocean, but Loeb is confident that they will recover what they are in search of. It's a fishing expedition, literally speaking, he says, and what we can do is basically take the trajectory of this meteor and extrapolate it all the way down to the ocean's surface. While narrowing down its location is one hurdle, Loeb still needs to physically retrieve it. We're planning to board the ship and build a sled and a magnet attached to it that will scoop the ocean floor, and we will go back and forth like mowing the lawns across the region. Well, they can get your neighbor's lawnmower on this deal.
Yeah. They should tell the neighbor, hey, I'm not going to destroy it. I'm just going to set it to sea.
Exactly. Then you get rid of it and the kids are safe.
Exactly.
See? Man. See, we got this thing all planned out. 10 kilometers in size and collect the magnets. So they're going to do this whole thing 10 kilometers in size. I think your neighbor's lawnmower can handle this.
I think so, too. How do we know this stuff from outer space is magnetic if it's not anything that we know?
See, that's the thing. They don't.
Right. Yeah. He's just hoping it is.
Well, there tends to be rare metals in all meteorites, so.
Right.
Yeah. So they're just hoping it's magnetic.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a bitch if it were all plastic?
Or it's a non-magnetic alloy, so he sucks up everything but the stuff he wants.
He ends up pulling up an old battleship. Damn it! But then they get rich on all the gold.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that'd suck. So it's 10 kilometers, 10 kilometers in size, 10 kilometers in size, and they'll collect it with the magnets, all the fragments that are attached to it, and then brush them off and study their composition in the laboratory. While Leb has raised $500,000, how do they get all this money for this stuff?
They go and they talk to the billionaires and the millionaires, and they really sell them on it. And
I can't get $5 for a cup of coffee. These guys get $500,000 to go find magnets and meteorites in the ocean.
Hey, Avi's got a great OnlyFans. Okay,
I guess he does. It's probably just him with a big meteorite in front of his crotch.
Exactly.
Yeah. While Leb has raised $500,000, he's seeking the extra $1 million that is needed to get a boat to the meteor explosion site off the coast of Papua New Guinea in order to retrieve the interstellar object. While raising the money and planning the trip, which he hopes to begin in the coming months, is no small task, Leb is confident the findings will be the likes of which humanity has never seen. I say good luck to him.
I do too. I think he's onto something. I think that we need to look in the oceans for more alien stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if he finds alien tech, good on him.
Yeah.
You know, even if he just finds a meteorite that's got a different type of metal on it. Hell, if he finds Superman's ship, I mean, good.
What if he finds Atlantis?
Hey, if he finds Atlantis, even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, even
which has
better.
alien technology, technically.
True. Very true. One more story here before we go to break. And then, boy, we got some creepy stories on the backside of today's program.
Some nightmare fuel.
It's some nightmare fuel on the backside of today's program. We've also got your Parashare stories on the backside of today's program as well. Boy, I tell you, some families get along, some families don't, and some families, they'll just do a knockout, drag-out fight anywhere.
Oh, yeah. I've seen those families. I love those families.
Well, sometimes it's inappropriate. A casket gets knocked over at a Bay Area funeral where a massive family fight breaks out.
Not the right. That's where you got to read the room.
Yeah, exactly. There's a time to fight and there's a time just to settle down.
That's why your mistress shouldn't come to your funeral.
That's right.
Let the wife come.
Keep the mistress at home.
Yeah.
A massive brawl broke out between up to 20 family members during a funeral for an elderly woman in Richmond on August 6th, leading to one injury, one arrest, and $20,000 in damages, according to officials.
Wow.
Yeah, the Richmond Police Department said it responded to the Rolling Hills Memorial Park at 1:30 in the afternoon after several reports of a chaotic altercation between 8 to 20 family members who were reportedly armed.
Showing up to a funeral armed?
You couldn't even keep the guns at home for the funeral. Wow.
It's the only funeral you go to where it says check your gun at the door.
Grandma's dead, bring the gun. Sergeant Aaron Pomeroy said it was an instance of family drama that started between a brother and sister who were attending their mother's funeral and who do not get along. And it goes back many years. The brother and sister were talking. It says the brother and sister were talking. That's what the article says. I don't know if that's...
Wait, the brother and the sister. So wouldn't that be his sister?
I think so, yeah. I just think it's a misprint. Yeah. We're talking and got into an argument when her boyfriend came over and encouraged her to walk away.
Okay, that makes sense. You want to break up a fight? Like, come on, let's walk away. Let's cool our heads. That makes sense.
It might be a little drama, too. You know, he might be like, come on, baby. You know.
No, it's not the place. Your mama's right over there.
That's right. Your mama's over there dead in a casket. You don't need to be fighting.
Come on, let's go pick up our guns and leave.
That's right. Take your pistol and let's go. The brother started beating on the boyfriend, and that's when it escalated. And it became a brawl, and we started to get calls, he said. Oh, my.
You talk to my sister like that, she'll sit here and she'll take it.
You listen, I used to date my sister. You get your hands off her. At some point during the physical fight, the brother got into a vehicle with the intention of driving over his sister.
Hey, they're already at a funeral home.
That's right. You might get a twofer. Yeah, so mom's already in the ground.
Put sister on top of mom and bury them both.
That's right. Yep. Mom's already in the ground. You can put sister on top of her. He attempted to drive toward his sister in an aggressive way, but instead he struck another female and sent her to the hospital.
Well, they did look similar. They were both wearing black.
Jesus. She had non-life-threatening injuries, he said. The victim is 33 years old.
Oh, jeez.
She's quite young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was just going to pay her respects. Next thing you know, she's getting hit by a car.
Right. In the car, the brother also damaged the grass, knocked over and damaged headstones and vases, and broke a water main that ejected copious amounts of water and flooded the funeral plot.
This is straight out of a movie. Straight out of a movie.
Guess what the lieutenant's name was?
Dan?
Matt Stonebreaker.
This is so a movie.
It is.
So a movie.
He's the spokesman for the department. The driver also reportedly knocked over the casket. Oh, God. Now it's getting into Naked Gun territory.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, they're picking Mom up and doing a weekend at Bernie's.
That's true. But Stonebreaker said the body didn't fall out, thank God.
Okay.
So Mama held on for dear life.
Mama's like, I'm staying here. I'm dead. You guys are your own problem now.
That's right. When the brother got out of the car, a family member hit him in the head with a cane, injuring him.
That was probably the end.
He had it coming, though. They used the cane to try to get him under control, he said. The suspect was hit a couple of times. The cane came from someone who was at the funeral. I don't know that they ever were identified or where the cane came from.
I'm just going with an aunt. It was the aunt.
It was probably Mama's sister.
Mama's sister, and she's like, "My sister's dead in the ground. You come here with this car? Go away. Mind your P's and Q's.
Hit him with this; it'll take him down."
She's just handing out canes. And you get a cane, and you get a cane.
Everybody gets a cane. Take him out. We sometimes get family disputes at the cemetery or at the church. Stonebreaker said this was no different, but it was an especially large family fight, and they said possibly armed. This one went above and beyond. Usually you don't get the injuries. In this case, it looked like they had some really bad blood.
Oh, yeah.
They said no shots were fired, no guns were found. The brother, a 36-year-old from Bay Point, was arrested for felony assault with a deadly weapon and vandalism. Pomeroy said the Contra Costa County District Attorney's Office is reviewing the charges. Rolling Hills Memorial Park said it could not comment on the incident as it's under police investigation. Police said preliminary estimates from the park suggest the fight caused $20,000 in damage.
Wow. He's lucky the body didn't fall out of the casket because they could have got him with something to a corpse.
Oh, yeah.
What is it? Yeah. Because that's,
desecration, isn't it?
That's a desecration of corpse,
Yeah.
Man. We all, you know what, Tim? We all have our different ways of mourning. We all grieve separately. Some of us, we get quiet. Mm-hmm. We pray. Mm-hmm. Some of us, we get visits from the other side. Mm-hmm. And some of us get in the car and just destroy the funeral home.
We tear shit up. That's how we do it. Yeah, we just get in our truck and tear shit up. That's funeral. Yeah, that's how we do it.
Yep.
Oh, boy. When we come back, we got possessed children walking up the walls. Yep. We got Charles Dickens looking for a haunted house. We'll talk about a mummy that is so preserved there's actually blood still in it.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
and
cool.
We'll talk about Abraham Lincoln's death photo. Is it real or is it faked?
Ooh.
And much, much more. Plus, we've got your Parashare stories and much, much more on top of that. But first, you know what, Bruiser? I want to talk a little bit about pain and anxiety.
Yes.
And, you and I suffer with pain. We've had our little bits and bouts with pain, but we've been getting a little bit of a relief recently. We've been microdosing. And if people don't know what microdosing is, it's real simple. People might hear the word microdose and go, ooh, boy, microdose. Isn't that associated with like LSD, or the words LSD? Well, microdosing has been used with the safe use of psychedelics and to provide a solution for people interested in microdosing THC. microdosing just means this. It's just taking a small dose of something in order to get the benefits of a medication without getting the ill effects of a medication or the high of a medication. And so microdosing really has its benefits without getting the effect that might throw you off. Okay? And microdosing actually has been helping both Bruiser and I in our daily lives. It's helping me right now as we sit here on the air.
Me too.
And one of the great things about Microdose is Microdose has a gummy out there, a delicious gummy that is helping us through our daily grind. Is that a good way of putting it?
I guess so. Yeah.
Daily grind. When you hear grind, I think of bones grinding together, and that makes me cringe a little bit, my friend. Microdose gummies are something that's absolutely changed my life. I know it's changed your life, Bruiser. You want to tell people real quick about how microdose gummies are affecting your everyday life?
Yeah, in fact, this past weekend I had a long travel day and wasn't able to get some sleep and was sore from the underwater needlepoint. So I took some of my gummies while I was in the airport, and it just helped me relax. And anybody that's been in an airport knows it's hard to relax in an airport. Mm-hmm. But my gummies helped me. They kept me comfortable in the airport. They kept me comfortable on the plane, which usually I'm always shifting because, first of all, I'm a 300-pound man on a plane. Planes are not meant for large men. But the microdose, it helped me get rid of the pain. It helped with the anxiety that comes with being in public. And I was able to relax. And when I got home, I wasn't the normal grumpy puss I would be from being awake for so long. I was, calm and really good. My wife looked and goes, "Are you okay? Did you get a good nap on the plane?" I says, "No." I said, "It's my microdose. It took the pain away, took the anxiety away, and I was able to travel without any problems." And nowadays, that's a big, big step.
Yeah, very much so. Microdose gummies are a balance of CBD and THC from hemp. They're hemp gummies. And they're the THC in them. I know I've had some questions by email, Bruiser. We've gotten some questions by email as to where the THC is derived from. So it's derived from industrial hemp. There's less than 0.3% THC in the gummy. So it's the less than the maximum allowed by federal law. Now, I have had this question from one emailer. He said, "Well, will this show up on a drug test, a urine test?" It will. So yes. Just so you're aware, it will show up on a drug test. So just so you know.
But you are able to travel with it.
You are.
I know I've had a couple concerns from the fellow wrestlers I've pitched it to, and they're like, "Can we fly with it?" Yes, you can. I flew with it last weekend. I had brought my little jar that they come in, had it in my carry-on bag, and wasn't questioned or asked about it at all because it's legal.
There you go. It's also shippable in all 50 states, which is
exactly.
Great. Yep. So it ships to all 50 states. That's the great thing about these microdose gummies. Now, again, if you have a job where you are not drug tested, these are wonderful. It's a wonderful source, natural source of pain relief. Mm-hmm. Bruiser and I have both been on opioids for long-term chronic pain. And let me tell you, the effects of long-term opioid use are devastating.
Yes.
You do want to work yourself off those opioids. This is a great natural source of working yourself off of those long-term opioids. And you do get, I think, honestly, Bruiser, you do get a better relief off of these gummies than you do off the opioids because you build that tolerance on those opioids.
Yeah, you got to take more and more opioids, and I'm actually taking less now that I'm doing the gummies.
Yeah,
and well. That was the whole purpose of doing the gummies, was to limit my opioid use.
Yep.
And I also love too, like with the gummies, I'm able to function. I'm able to do stuff. I want to get up and do stuff.
Yeah.
When I do the opioids, it's I want to lay here. I'm tired. And
yep.
I mean, they're doing their job, but they're also taken away from me able to play with Ziggy or take Mrs. Bruiser out to dinner or,
yep.
brush Bruiser the cat or something.
Yep.
So I'm so happy with these gummies.
Very much so. Now microdose gummies aren't just for pain. They're not just for anxiety. You can also take them if you're having issues with sleep. Like Bruiser was saying, you can use them for a creative boost. There are gummies for that creative boost or for just enjoying the moment. Maybe you want to use them in your workout. These gummies are great for your workout recovery. There are multiple uses for microdose gummies. You may be saying to yourself, well, guys, how do I get a hold of microdose gummies? It's real simple. Microdose is available nationwide. Like we said, they ship to all 50 states. To learn more about microdosing THC, go to microdose.com. Use the code DARKNESS to get free shipping and 30% off your first order. Links can be found in the show description, but again, that's microdose.com and code DARKNESS. Do yourself a favor. Get out of pain, lower that anxiety, enjoy your sleep. You don't have to be getting up multiple times a night because of pain. Enjoy the moment. Enjoy a creative boost. Get creative again. Use it for your workout and recovery. Microdose, again, is available nationwide. To learn more about microdosing THC, go to microdose.com. Use the code DARKNESS to get free shipping and 30% off your first order. Links are, again, in the show description, but it's microdose.com. Use the code DARKNESS. Do it today. We've got more supernatural news and your Parashare stories coming up next on the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio. Welcome back to the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio. It's the Cruiser and the Bruiser on Supernatural News Wednesday. It's not Saturday. It feels like a Saturday, doesn't it? Supernatural News Wednesday.
I think you threw yourself off with that radio voice.
I did. The Cruiser and the Bruiser. Yeah, Supernatural News Wednesday. It's Parashare as well. You know what? We should probably get to one of those Parashare stories, shouldn't we?
Yeah, I love hearing from our fans. I love hearing the experiences they have. And the best thing about the Parashare and sharing that is you don't feel alienated. You know what I mean? Like it used to be, if you had a paranormal experience, you couldn't really tell anybody because you didn't know how they react. But nowadays, with the paranormal being more accepted in everyday life, people are coming out with more and more stories, and I'd love to hear it. I love the stories and hearing about their experiences.
I'll just mention a couple of emails that were sent along, and then I'll read the Parashare. Corey sends along just a meme. You've seen the meme before from it's got the picture of ghost hunters on top, and then the Scooby-Doo gang on the bottom.
Yes.
And it says on the air for nearly 12 years have not captured a single ghost, and it shows the ghost hunters gang, and then on the bottom it shows the Scooby-Doo gang. It says can capture ghosts in 30 minutes. I don't know why you harp on my guys over there at the ghost hunters there, Corey, but you know. But he says he thought it was funny. That's it is a funny meme.
It is funny. There's another one out there too. If someone, it's the ghost hunter guys and they're shaking a cat fur, and then it goes around the cat or it goes around a ghost. It's a new way of finding ghosts, and I laugh because I have cat hair everywhere.
That's true. Yeah. He said he just thought it was funny. That's all he had to share. Have a good rest of your day. Corey from Ohio. He says, I mainly listen to Darkness Radio at work with headphones and work 8+ hours a day. And he's quite enjoyed the longer episodes here lately. I've had a couple people say that now. I was kind of feeling like...
You and I were worried about that.
Yeah, we're worried about the longer episodes, but he's saying that's okay. He also says he's a big fan of wrestling / underwater needlepoint. So he says, come to Ohio at some time soon here, BCB. So
I'm working on it. Yeah. I love going to Ohio. I've wrestled in Columbus numerous times, and it's actually one of my favorite cities to wrestle in.
All right. There you go. So there's your answer, Corey, as far as coming to Ohio. Let's see here. Kevin says, hey there, Tim and BCB. Another guest, then hello to you. Oh, if it's some other... Yeah. Okay.
Well, you get me, so thank you. Hello.
There you go. This is the first time writing in. So I'll do my best to keep it as entertaining and easy to read as possible. This is a near-death experience story as well. I have plenty of paranormal stories to share, but I figured this would be a great introduction for a first-time story. I grew up in a small town at the time, about 20 to 30 minutes away from Columbus, Ohio. I never lived in any fancy houses or big places. I was a small-town kid that grew up in apartments. Well, anyways, I was about 5 years old in this instance. I'm 25 now. The apartment complex I grew up in was small and tightly packed together, so a lot of people knew each other. We had a creek around the backside of the apartment that's still here to this day. Well, my brother, who was 7 years older than myself, had a best friend growing up named Cody. They were the best of friends, as you could imagine. They did everything together. Me being the little brother, I always wanted involvement in whatever activity they were getting into, such as sports, video games, fishing, or just being around them because I thought they were the coolest. What little brother wouldn't look up to his older brother and best friend? So I followed them around all the time and tried to be a lot like them. Well, I, being the very curious and adventurous kid as I was growing up, I would wander around the apartments alone. This is back when people looked out for each other's kids. And as I said, everyone knew each other, so this was very typical. My brother and Cody had a fishing spot around the back of the apartment down by the creek. It was a small town creek, nothing very special, but special to us since we lived there. One day I decided I was going to go down by the creek by myself. It had rained the day before, so the creek was higher than normal. Now the entryway to this little path that led down to the creek was only about a foot wide, maybe 2 feet wide, was the entrance to this path. It was the middle of summer, so there were bushes and leaves everywhere. So this particular day when I went down there, I got too close to the water's edge and I slipped in. Ooh. I was only 5 at this time. The current was stronger due to the rain the previous day. So I couldn't fight the current and I didn't know how to swim. And as I am under the water panicking, trying to get some kind of control of myself, I feel a hand grab my hair and just pull. Now remember, this pathway was only 2 feet wide at most. So for someone to come by in that very instance couldn't have been coincidence, could it? It was Cody. It was my brother's friend who had just so happened to be going to our house and walked by just in time to see me fall in. He ran without hesitation, jumped in the water, grabbed my hair and pulled me out. It all happened so fast. We got back to the apartment, soaking wet, and my mother's like, "What the hell happened?" And from what I was told, Cody was crying, shaking and terrified, and I was laughing and saying it was awesome and that he got me out. Can't say I'm surprised that's how I reacted with how I am today, but I truly believed he was a guardian angel for me that day. With the circumstances and the timing of the situation, and for him to be in that moment to save me, I'll never forget for the rest of my life, and it's truly why I've always kept myself going. I'm not a very religious person, but I do believe that I was saved that day for a reason. I'm only 25. I have a hell of a life in front of me. I have a baby girl going to be here with the love of my life for 5 years now, due next month in September. I haven't truly found my reason here yet, but I believe it has something to do with my daughter. That's my story, guys. I'll write in next time with something paranormal, and I won't keep you waiting. I'd love to hear yours and Beer City Bruisers or guests' opinion of the story and what you personally think of guardian angels or just being in the right place at the right time. I'll look over the story, but feel free to edit as you need. No reason to edit. I just read it just as it was. Thanks for taking the time to read and give your opinion. Much love from Kevin.
Well, thank you, Kevin. I personally think, yeah, there was some divine intervention in there. And the reason that I believe that Cody cried afterwards is that's that adrenaline dump after you do something major, where it's a big adrenaline rush like that. Your body has to decompress and doesn't know how to handle it. And usually you cry or you're exhausted or whatever. And to him, that was, oh my God, there's my buddy's little brother. I'm going to go in and get him.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to find out real quick. He said he doesn't know what the purpose in his life is yet, but he's going to find out real quick when that little girl's born. That's your purpose. Because when I was a troublemaker and I was a hoodlum, I guess you could say. But when my oldest daughter was born, my life changed for the better. because it was, I have something to live for now, you know. And then my son came along, and it's like, okay, this is what I'm now. That was my purpose in life, and that's what drove me to follow my dreams and become a professional wrestler. And I think that's what he's going to find out. It's the only time I can truly say, and anybody that's not a parent, this is what I'm going to say to you, and everyone that is a parent probably can agree with me, is that the first moment you hold that child in your arms, you believe in true love, because it's the first time in your life you'll look at something and go, nothing's going to harm you. I will put my life before yours to make sure you live a life as full as you can. And I think he's going to experience that. And I think he wasn't taken away from us when he was 5 because they, you know, whatever you believe in, planned on him having this daughter and being the father for this daughter.
I think you're right, Bruiser. And then, you know, there's to add to your point, I think as far as Cody goes, he probably felt like he was, in a way, you're his little brother too. You know, yeah. I can only speak in the way that I felt when I was younger. I had a best friend who had a little brother, and I kind of felt like he was my little brother too. So he felt a little bit of an affinity and affection for you. Yeah. To see you struggling, and I agree with the adrenaline dump thing completely. But at that time, it was the thought that he could have lost you. Yeah. You know, and it all kind of hit him at one time. The adrenaline dump, the fact that you almost died. He knew you could have died. I think too, there's no such thing as an accident or synchronicities. I mean, I shouldn't say there's no such thing as synchronicities. There is such a thing as a synchronicity, but there is such a thing as right place, right time. But there also is such a thing as divine intervention. And that is an instance of divine intervention. There's a reason Cody was placed there at that time. And there's a reason he did what he did at that time. He was the right person with the right character at the right time to come along and help you. And you should never question why. No. You should never say, well, why me at that time? There's a reason. What that reason is, you'll find out. At the age of 25 to question why me and why now, you're too young. Yeah. You know, at the age of 25, I could have never said to myself, well, you know, I don't understand. You know, or what, you know, what was I put here for at 25? Because I was so young then. At 25, at 25, my life wasn't even started yet. No, you're just you're at the beginning of your life. Yeah. And the thing with us as humans is we want that instant gratification. We want to know why something happens as soon as we can. And the thing about whatever belief you have, God or whatever, is it's not instant. There's always that saying, it happens for a reason, but we have to be patient enough to find out what that reason is. Mm-hmm. Because I've had stuff happen in my life, I'm sure, Tim, you have too, where at the time you don't understand why it's happening. But then years could go by and something happens and you're like, oh, this makes me think back to X amount of years ago when that happened. And now this is happening. I see the connection now. Yeah. The light goes on, Kevin. After a few years, the light does go on and you go, oh, remember when that happened? I know why that happened now. Yep. You're going to have a moment where that incident that happened where Cody saved you, you're going to end up saving somebody's life. You may not know it, but you will. You'll be in somebody's life. You'll return that favor. It may be something as simple as you'll give somebody the right words. The right words may fall out of your mouth, and it may be somebody who maybe is having a bad day and thinking about ending it all. It may be you happen to be right place, right time for somebody, just like Cody was right place, right time for you, and you're going to end up saving somebody's life. And I think his daughter's going to factor into that somehow. I think that moment will happen somehow through how his life has changed with his daughter. I think that person will be put in his path
whether it be a parent of another child that he meets, or whether it be the boyfriend of his daughter years from now. We don't, there's so
you
many
never know. Yeah.
Areas, but I firmly believe that daughter is a key to the reason he was saved, and I think that's going to be and love that child, hold that child, protect that child.
Exactly. So it's 25 is way too young to tell yourself, well, I feel like I've learned it all and I can call it a day. You're way too young for that. There's way too many years ahead of you to stop and say, well, I'm done learning. Because the day you're done learning is the day you're done here on Earth. Mm-hmm. We all have much more to learn. So this is the way I would put it, my friend. Sit back, enjoy the ride, learn as much as you can, and learn as much as you can so you can pass it on to that baby girl. So. Yep. All right.
Yeah, and I'm glad he's still around. Thank you, Cody.
Yep. Thank you, Cody. And thank you, Kevin, for writing in. We got a couple.
I'm curious, though, if Kevin and Cody still talk to this day. That's one little question I'd like to know, Kevin, if you could just let us know if you and Cody still, even if it's just through his brother.
Yeah.
Just if Cody's still in his life somehow.
Yeah. That is a good question. We got a couple more that we'll cover later on in the show, but we've got a couple more Parashare stories here for you a little bit later. Boy, let's get into the creep factor. You want to get into the creep factor here?
Some nightmare fuel.
Story here about possessed children reportedly walking up walls.
Oh.
Yeah. We go to Indiana back in 2014. I believe this might have to do with... Is
this the Demon House?
I think this might have to do with the Demon House. Official state documents detail the particular case of a triple possession that occurred in Indiana back in 2014. Tales of demonic possession might seem like little more than fictional stories found in books and movies, but there have been a number of documented cases over the years that, while inconclusive, certainly might make you wonder whether there really could be something unnatural going on. In this particular instance, a mother from Indiana had reported that her 3 children were possessed and that had been exhibiting all manner of disturbing and seemingly impossible behaviors, ranging from speaking in deep voices to levitating and walking up the walls of their bedroom. While such claims might sound ridiculous and easily dismissible as nonsense, these phenomena were allegedly observed by a number of reputable individuals, including police officers and even medical professionals. The case was recorded in official state documents, which reported that at least one psychologist had witnessed the woman's 9-year-old son speak in different, deep voices and walk up the wall backwards.
Yeah, this sounds like the Demon House.
It does, yeah.
For the people who haven't seen Demon House, go watch it for one. It's an amazing documentary that Zach Baggins put out. But there was an instance where they had the child. He was being checked for something. I think he was sick or something. And that's when he starts talking in tongues and crawls up the wall backwards. And wasn't it the CPS worker that was there, quit that day?
Yeah.
I think she went and quit that day, right? And then Zach interviews her for the documentary, which adds to the realism of the story.
Yeah. Medical staff reported that they observed the children and heard the 7-year-old making growling noises, and his eyes rolled back into his head. The report stated they observed the young boy lifted and thrown into the wall with nobody touching him. He had the weird grin on his face and began to walk backwards while the grandmother was holding his hand, and he walked up the wall backwards while holding the grandmother's hand, and he never let go. He flipped over and landed on his feet in front of the grandmother and sat down in the chair.
Oh.
Yeah, I think at that time it's probably time to go get a holy water break.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go find the hospital chapel and take a seat.
Yeah. Some doubts exist over the nature of this phenomena. However, as it was also reported that the mother had been suffering from mental illness and the children may have been performing for her. I don't think they were performing for her.
Yeah, if they can reenact that, please do it.
Yeah, if they can,
without wires or any magnetics or anything like that, that's American Got Talent stuff. There, if they can reenact that.
If they can reenact that, Cirque du Soleil is looking for them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. In the end, all 3 were taken away by child services. So that's the story there.
I don't like that people. Anytime we get a possession story or something like that, it automatically, and I think it's out of fear, is chalked up to mental illness, or it was staged, or there was wires or something. And I think that comes from fear. Mm-hmm. Because in some way, shape, or form, we've all been touched by religion. We all have. We've all either been to church or we have religious whatever. And seeing something like that, which is demonic, proves that there is an evil side to religion.
Yeah.
And I think that's why people get scared and right off the bat are like, nope, that's not real. That's schizophrenia, or that's this.
Well, it's easier to explain it away than it is to deal with it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're not thinking of the person that's going through it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. There's a story here asking if cats can see ghosts.
Yes, I do believe they can, because I know my cat has.
Well, here's what science has to say about it. You ready for this?
Okay.
This is what science has to say about their connection to the supernatural. It says that cats can see pretty well in the dark, and if you own a cat, you probably witnessed them looking at something that you can't quite see. Great vision is one thing, but do cats have another sense that we can tap into as humans, or that we can't tap into as humans? In many societies, cats have traditionally been associated with things that are unexplainable. I know I'm screwing up the story here. Cats were frequently associated with witchcraft, and even today, black cats are associated with Halloween and evil spirits. Ancient Egyptians worshiped cats not just because they were superior house pets. Well, that's what it says in the story here. I will beg to differ, because they believed cats could communicate with the spirit world. So when your cat stares at something you can't see, especially at night, should you be alarmed? Can cats see ghosts? Well, when you walk into the living room and see your feline friend staring blankly at a wall, you might think that the answer is yes. As strange as this sight seems, there are very common cat behaviors, but it might bring you to ask the question of if your cat has a sixth sense. Hard to say at this time of day. It turns out there could be a very likely or more real-world explanation for this. Since cats have a heightened vision and hearing when compared to humans, it is more likely that cats are detecting light spectrums or hearing sounds that we can't. In fact, scientists have stated that cats can see in ultraviolet light. So with cats being able to see in UV light and hearing frequencies up to 4 or 5 times higher than we can, those cat ears are shaped like little radar dishes for a reason. It's a definite possibility that your feline friend can see and sense things that we can't. And no, we're not talking about paranormal activity. If you remember your high school biology or anatomy classes, I sense light with rods, a type of photoreceptor cell found in the retina. Cats have quite a few more of these than humans do, which allow them to see in low light conditions that would blind their owners. This, of course, isn't exactly reassuring if you're hoping for confirmation that your cat isn't seeing something weird in your house. In all likelihood, it's probably just strange cat behavior, but the next time your cat stares oddly at a corner and meows, take a minute and breathe. Fluffy might have just seen or heard something that's not visible to us, which is hopefully just an odd light or a sound. Unfortunately, if ghosts do exist, then cats probably would sense them before us. So go ahead and sleep well. So in other words, science doesn't know either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I 100% believe my cat does. Before we moved from Wisconsin, North Carolina, as I've said on the show, my grandma's visited me a few times that I've had anxiety and whatnot. And obviously, before a big move, she came to let me know everything's going to be okay. Mm-hmm. And after she left the room, Bruiser was at the end of the bed, and the way he was standing was like someone was scratching him on his chin because of the way he was moving his body and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then went on for about a minute or two, and then he turned around, came back, and laid back down, was as calm as can be. And I was like, okay. That was maybe Grandma saying goodbye to him, or I don't know.
Interesting.
But, yeah, so I believe it.
You don't think Bruiser is just seeing things?
He might, but I'm sold that he was being pet at that moment by something.
I think so too. I'm not gonna lie.
And he's not one to like just sit and stare at things.
Yeah.
Like he has his own personality and stuff. Like we had another cat, Boo. She would just sit and stare at the wall all the time. And that's like, okay, that's his normal cat behavior. He never really exhibited that. Yeah. This was the only time I really saw him do something like that. So
I've seen animals see things too, so I'm not gonna dispute it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be a scientific thing. We don't know. They don't know, obviously.
Yeah, science doesn't know. They just take a shot in the dark and tell you they see rods and cones, and they see things different and go, that's it. That's got to be it.
Yeah, they're just breaking down biology for us.
Exactly. Charles Dickens sought out a house where he could meet a real ghost. At least they say he did towards the end of his life. An exhibition in London will explore the author's lifelong fascination with the paranormal. For many people, a haunted house is a place to avoid, but in 1859, Charles Dickens was actively seeking a place where he might be molested by a ghost. That's the quote, molested.
That is such a weird... Why would you choose that phrasing?
I don't know. Well, I don't think it means what it meant back then.
No, of course.
Dickens had a lifelong fascination with the paranormal, an interest reflected in the inclusion of spirits, specters, and phantoms in his stories. From October, it will be the subject of an exhibition at a house in central London where the author and his family lived in the late 1830s, now the Charles Dickens Museum. Among the exhibits is a letter never displayed before from the author to William Howitt. Dickens asks whether the spiritualist and fellow writer can suggest any haunted house whatsoever within the limits of the United Kingdom where nobody can live, eat, drink, stand, lie, or sleep without sleep molestation.
There it is again.
Okay, I won't defend him anymore. Yeah. That he and his friend John Hollingshead might visit. Interesting. Howitt recommends an inn in Holborn. Maybe he was looking for an incubus or a succubus.
I was thinking that too. Maybe he's looking for the extreme ones.
Maybe. Howitt recommended an inn in Holborn, which Hollingshead visited only to find it a tumble-down pot house.
What's a tumble-down pot house?
Sounds like a great band name is what
it does. Yeah. Or an album.
Yeah. Only haunted by the claims of brewers and distillers. Another apparently haunted house in
That's my kind of haunted house.
Yeah, for real. Another apparently haunted house in Cheshunt, Hertfordshire, visited by Dickens, Hollingshead, and the novelist Wilkie Collins, turned out not even to exist. The trio of ghost hunters had to settle for a good lunch instead, said Emily Dunbar, the exhibition's curator. These disappointments did not dent Dickens' interest in the supernatural, which began when he was a child. His nursemaid, Mercy. How would you like to have a nursemaid named Mercy? Mercy. Break them out, Mercy. Told him the ghost stories, and he avidly read the weekly horror magazine, The Terrific Register, later admitting that it had frightened my very wits out of my head. Dunbar said he was fascinated, but we like to term him a fascinated skeptic. Although he was really interested in ghosts, I wouldn't say he really believed in their existence, but he loved the idea of people being scared of ghost stories. After Dickens's death in 1870, his friend and biographer John Forster wrote that the author had a hankering after ghosts and would have fallen into the follies of spiritualism had it not been for the strong restraining power of his common sense. His works include 20 books and stories featuring ghostly apparitions, including A Christmas Carol, The Pickwick Papers, The Signal Man, and The Haunted Man. He enjoyed his public performances of his ghost stories, boasting in a letter to his wife, Catherine, of one listener undisguisedly sobbing and crying on the sofa as I read. There was undoubtedly an element of giving readers what they wanted, said Dunbar. Dickens was a businessman. He knew exactly what he was doing. He liked to be close to his audience. He was in touch with the popular culture of the time and played into that. The exhibition includes Dickens' own annotated copy of The Haunted Man that he read from during public performances. Different colored inks indicate deletions and emphasize emotive passages. Objects, posters, letters, and books will illustrate Dickens' understanding of the power of the supernatural. The Victorians' fascination with ghosts and spirits had endured, said Dunbar. In research for the exhibition, the museum found that more people believe in ghosts than you'd think, especially when you widen it out to things that can't necessarily be explained. If someone has a ghost story, most people are really interested in hearing it, even if they want to pick it apart. It's a talking point. We haven't really lost that, he went on to say. Kind of interesting stuff there.
Yeah. I love that he's so into it. He's willing to do the research to make his stories even more scarier. And it just sounded like he loved scaring people, which is awesome. That makes you just a better writer, or nowadays a director.
Yeah.
When you can just go out and, scare people.
Yeah, exactly. We continue on with history. The Abraham Lincoln death photo.
Yes, I've seen this.
So you've seen the photo.
Yes.
And the question in this article is priceless artifact or hoax?
That's a good question.
A very good question.
I know the bed sheets he died on, there's hoaxes of those out there.
Yeah. We'll kind of skim over the article a little bit because it's a little lengthy, but we want to get to the gist of it, and that's this. A recently discovered photo has surfaced claiming to depict Abraham Lincoln on his deathbed, and it's taken the history world by storm. Supposedly taken just hours after Lincoln was shot by John Wilkes Booth, the death photo has historians divided over its authenticity. Is it a priceless artifact or is it a hoax? So essentially, as we know, Abraham Lincoln was fatally shot by John Wilkes Booth while attending a play at Washington, D.C.'s Ford's Theater. Lincoln succumbed to his injuries and was pronounced dead in his bed at 7:22 a.m. the following day. As the first U.S. president ever to be assassinated, Lincoln's death shocked the nation and triggered a lengthy mourning period. Lincoln made monumental changes to his country while in office, ending slavery and working to create a more just society for all Americans. His death occurred near the end of the American Civil War, a conflict that divided the country into the Northern Union and Southern Confederacy, which Booth hoped to revive by killing the president. Interesting goals.
Yeah.
So if the Abraham Lincoln death photo in question is real, it would have been taken sometime between 10:25 p.m. on April 14th and 7:22 a.m. on April 15th. And if it was truly real, why did no one know about its existence until 155 years after Lincoln's death?
That's a good question.
That's the question. So who took this photo? The story claims that a photographer named Henry Ulke was responsible for taking the picture. Ulke lived in the same boarding house Lincoln was brought to after he was shot, directly across the street from Ford's Theater. The photographer was supposedly taking the image in secret shortly before Lincoln would be pronounced dead. The photo was likely stopped from reaching the public eye when Lincoln's Secretary of War, Edwin Stanton, declared that all images of the dead president must remain private. The photo in question was handed down to Lincoln's mother, Nancy Hanks, and yes, she is a distant cousin of actor Tom Hanks. It was passed down through the Hanks family until a cousin, Margaret Hanks, ended up with it in the 1980s. Before she died in 1986, Hanks sold several artifacts to a Civil War buff named Larry Davis. Davis recalled seeing the small picture, which is kept in a hinged frame finished with velvet and brass, labeled with a Post-it note that read, Cousin Abe. Allegedly, Davis's wife stole the picture from him and sold it to an Illinois dentist named Gerald Spoler. So what are the experts saying about this? Well, Whitney Braun, a California investigative researcher who has spent several years looking into the authenticity of the photo, first heard about it when she received a phone call from Spoler in 2020. When Braun saw the photo with her own eyes, she was shocked that a random dentist owned what could be one of the most valuable photographs of Lincoln ever taken. Whitney Braun also sees clues hidden in the picture that could prove its authenticity. The subject's right eye appears to be bulging, which is consistent with a gunshot wound to the head. Braun also noted the small scar on his lip, which is a confirmed feature of Lincoln's. My first thought was that it was too good to be true, said Braun, who was featured in the documentary Undiscovered: The Lost Lincoln. Braun says she is 99% sure that the photo is authentic, but several details have left other experts feeling skeptical. The first interesting fact about the photograph is that it is an ambrotype, a picture created using a glass negative on a dark background. But the ambrotype method was outdated by the 1860s. So why would a professional photographer like Ulke be using such an old and inefficient method for a secret photo? So the question is the man in the death photo really Lincoln?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Harold Holzer, who has intensely studied the 130 Lincoln photos in existence for his book, The Lincoln Image, Abraham Lincoln in the Popular Print, is not convinced that the photo is real. Not every man with a beard photographed after 1861 was Abraham Lincoln, he said. It's going to take a... Which is an odd thing to say.
Especially in 1861 where everybody had a beard.
Yeah, well... he said, it's going to take a lot for me to take this seriously. It doesn't scan. It's an interesting quote.
Yeah.
In addition to the ambrotype theory, Holzer notes that the man in the photo is wearing a shirt when history has proven that Lincoln's clothes were taken off him once he was brought to the boarding house in order to check for any other injuries. Other details don't seem to add up. The bedpost on the left side of the image appears smooth, while the actual Lincoln deathbed is in the boarding house is known to have rounded and grooved sides. Lincoln's iconic facial features, like his strong nose, also seem to be missing from the photo in question. Whitney Braun is still convinced the photo is the discovery of the century. In the world of authenticating, she said, this is like finding the Holy Grail. As more research is needed to truly decipher the origins of the photo, only time will tell if Abraham Lincoln's death photo is a national treasure or a convincing fraud.
That'll be interesting how this falls out. Like they can do timestamp or time dating and stuff like that, where they go and they find out what it's made out of and all that and check back.
Yeah, I tell you what I'll do. I'll post this article in the description of the show so you can take a look at the actual, they have a picture of the actual photo in the article. And they also have a painting in the article as well of what the actual photo would be. Or they have a painting of his death. Then they have the actual photo. And it's interesting how different things are. And you get a compare and contrast of the different scenes. I can see where they would think that it's different. But yeah, I'll let you decide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing that the guy says that kind of gets me intrigued, if this is real or not, is the description of the deathbed. Not necessarily what he's wearing, because I've heard that he was wearing, they put an undershirt back on him, and that, but the bed, you can't really change the bed. So if it's smooth and supposed to be spiral, you know what I mean? You can't really change that.
Yeah, you can't.
So that's why I'm leaning, like I'm not sold that it's 100% real. But then again, what would the end game be of
faking a photo?
Of faking it and not, because he didn't sell it. He kept it in his family.
It's not like they had Photoshop way back then either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you'd literally have to find someone that looks identical to him. I don't know how the special effects makeup were back then, but get that bulge in the eye.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I don't see what the end game would be to fake this photo, because they never once tried to sell it and make money off of it.
Unless it was faked modern day, and then, but it'd be hard to recreate. There's very few of those. I mean, they're around, those cameras, but there are very few of them. It'd be very hard to recreate that type of photograph.
Yeah, and then to develop it the way that she was saying, where in 1860 it was already out of date.
Yeah.
You'd have to go back and find all the chemicals they used, which they probably don't make anymore. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't see the end game in faking this photo.
Right. It could be.
Now, if he would have sold it, tried to sell it right off the bat, like, hey, I got this photo of President Lincoln, top newspaper gets, whoever pays me the most gets the photo. I can see the argument for it being fake, but he's done nothing with it but passed it to his grandkids, who did sell it to a private collector, but it's just like, you know what I mean? I don't see the end, because normally when you hoax something, it's for profit.
Yeah. You
don't hoax something just to, hey, I hoax something. You want to make a profit, especially when it comes to that historical of a figure.
Yeah. Yeah. And to have had it all those years up until 1986 in the family.
Exactly.
Yeah. That doesn't scream of looking for a profit.
Let's call Tom Hanks. Ask him. He should know.
You would think. Or we'll call Daniel Day-Lewis and see if that looks like him.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. That's all I think of when I think of Lincoln. I know it's sacrilege. Our next story has to do with a mummy that's so well preserved, the blood remains in her veins.
This is going to answer some questions I have. I'll let you read the article, and if it doesn't answer my question, I'll ask.
Okay. The Lady of Dai mummy is so well preserved that blood remains in her veins. The 2,200-year-old mummy is a Chinese noblewoman known as Zin Shui.
I didn't know they did mummies in China.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just learned something.
The Lady of Dai is what she's called, is an anomaly. When her body was discovered, it was so incredibly well preserved that it equaled that of someone recently deceased.
Oh, wow.
Zin Shui is the Lady of Dai. She died between 178 and 145 BC at around 50 years of age, which was old at the time. The objects inside her tomb indicated a woman of wealth and importance. In 1971, her Han Dynasty era tomb was discovered accidentally to workers digging an air raid shelter. Boy, that would have been a surprise.
Yep.
What the?
Quick, everybody, the bombs are coming. But what is this?
Sorry, lady, get out of here. We're digging an air raid shelter. When her body was first examined, her skin was still moist and elastic. Her joints were still flexible. I'm surprised one of the lonely workers wasn't on top of her.
Let's see what else works.
Every feature remained intact down to her eyelashes and the hair in her nostrils.
Oh.
Even the blood remained in her veins.
Oh.
Yikes.
How do you suppose they found that out?
Pathologists found 138 undigested melon seeds in her esophagus, stomach, and intestines.
Well, she was enjoying a meal when she passed.
I guess. She had eaten the melon just 1 hour before her death.
Why is it still in her esophagus? She didn't swallow?
Maybe.
Okay, hold on.
Hey, now.
Yeah. It came out. I know. I'm sorry.
Well, evidently it didn't. Her organs were still intact, even down to the lungs vagus nerve, which is as thin as hair. Blood clots were found in her veins, and evidence were found of a coronary heart attack, as well as a host of other ailments and diseases such as diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, liver disease, and gallstones.
Okay, well, she had all of the diseases back then.
Yeah, the Lady died of a heart attack at the age of 50, brought on by obesity, lack of exercise, and an overindulgent diet. Too much melon.
She was a queen, so.
Yeah. The Lady of Dai is one of the best preserved mummies ever found. The condition is owed to the fact that her body had been swaddled in 20 layers of silk.
Oh, geez.
And was found in 80 liters of an unknown liquid that was mildly acidic with some magnesium in it. She was placed within 4 layers of coffins, which were within an airtight clay-lined burial vault 12 meters underground. The Lady of Dai's body has now deteriorated due to exposure to oxygen, but nevertheless remains in reasonable condition where it is housed in the Hunan Provincial Museum. Interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So my question was, they didn't take the blood out of the mummies? I thought they took all the fluids out. And then they embalmed you.
Evidently not in Chinese mummification.
Yeah, I'm thinking Egyptian. So
yeah.
Because in Egyptian, they essentially embalmed you, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, they scooped the brain and all that.
And the Chinese did this, which is crazy.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about crazy. That's the way they did it. But
well, yeah, no, I mean, that's awesome. Like, cool.
I mean, the fluid is something new. They don't do that in Egyptian mummification. So whatever that liquid was, they didn't say what the liquid was.
Do they still have the liquid? I'm curious, and can they test it?
I'm sure they might have, but they didn't release what it was.
Yeah, because I'm curious, like if they could recreate that, that'd be a whole new way of burying people nowadays.
They just said it was mildly acidic. But here's the thing. There's not an interest in the burial industry in preserving bodies because then they stack up.
That's true. Yeah. Did you see the new thing now? You can be buried and it's like essentially a burlap sack and they have a tree there. And then as you die, the tree feeds on you.
I have not seen that. No.
Yeah. That's how they're so for all the green people out there, you can become a tree when you die.
I have a very interesting story that relates to that at the end of the program. We've got some cruel and unusual ways some of our ancestors used remains.
Okay.
That's going to be at the end of the show. So that's your teaser for the end of the show. Yeah, we'll leave on a heavier, funnier note. Yeah. So there you go.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, Bruiser. You came up with the teaser for the end of the show.
Love it.
Yeah. But yeah, interesting. Let's go to another story here. We're going to England, where the landlord of a haunted pub creeped out as a ghost of a drowned teen pushed a pint off a table. What is it in England with pushing beer off of tables?
I was going to say, that's the most common thing coming from England is pints being pushed.
It's a waste of beer.
It is. Like, that's my bucket list is go to England and have a pint of beer in a pub. And if a ghost spills that pint, I'm going to be very upset with this ghost.
Are you gonna punch him? You gonna punch him in the mouth?
I will try. I will go back and haunt that pub just to get my revenge.
I guess. Pub landlord Scott Dawson was left unsettled after he watched a pint glass move on its own, and paranormal investigators believe it's a work of a teenage ghost, probably a jealous teenage ghost that he can't drink a pint. It's my guess.
Well, no. Isn't England 16 you can drink? I think it is.
What if the teenage ghost is 14?
That's true.
Yeah. A landlord of a haunted pub has been feeling unsettled after he watched a pint glass get pushed off a table and smashed without anyone touching it, which paranormal investigators believe is the work of a teenage ghost. Scott Dawson caught the creepy footage on his CCTV camera at the Ring o' Bells pub. It's not Rock the Bells pub, which is owned by LL Cool J, but Ring of Bells pub in Kendal. Is it Cumbria? Yeah, it's Kendal, Cumbria. Just before 8:30 p.m. on June 29th, and claimed it isn't the first spooky incident to have taken place in the pub. The bizarre footage shows a punter ordering 2 pints at the bar and placing one on a table while he takes his dog outside. Once no one is looking, the pint glass seems to move towards the edge on its own before startling customers as it smashes on a chair. Scott, who became landlord of the pub in December of 2021, insisted the weird scenes aren't the only unexplained things to have happened in the pub either, as numerous pints have moved on their own and the cellar has developed a reputation for being creepy. The 43-year-old believes there's a good chance the establishment is haunted and has even had paranormal investigators take a look at the area, who have claimed there is a ghost of a 17-year-old boy named Edward who hangs out in the cellar because he died after drowning in a well on the property. Well, you're 17. You could drink a pint. Why are you being mean and pushing him over?
Yeah, I think he's just trying to get attention.
That's
some teen angst right there.
Yeah, it is. That's some I can't listen to Nirvana angst is what it is. Scott, who is originally from Manchester, said, I live here, and for the first couple of weeks, I could hardly sleep. It was very creepy. There's a lot of strange goings on. My view is there's definitely a good chance this place is haunted. The glass was sat on the table for a good while before it moved. There was nothing to trigger the movement. It's as if there's a presence here. There's been other occasions in that corner where we've had pints moving on the table and tipping over. I've even swapped the table around, and it still seems to happen. So it's not the table itself, but it's definitely in that spot. Normally the guy's one of these people that can explain away something like that. But he watched the footage back and he was flabbergasted. He didn't believe in anything strange or paranormal, but he does now. The landlord also said that the pub, which was established in 1741, has been a hotspot for mediums and paranormal investigators for years, with many of them drawn to the cellar room downstairs. He added, one of the creepiest parts of the pub is that we have a cellar, and there's a big square section that looks like a room, but it's filled in. There's space at the front and the back, but this big square is filled in, and it just really seems strange. I'm looking at something here I'm going to show you in a minute, Bruiser, and you're going to laugh and tell me I know why they're seeing stuff. The mediums that visited us reckon there's a well there, and they said that one of the entities who walks around the pub, a young lad named Edward, was pushed down a well. If you believe the mediums, there's a young lad called Edward here, then it would make sense that a 17-year-old boy might find it quite funny to wind people up and have a bit of fun. It is creepy, but there's nothing nasty in here. I think he's just playful. And while some might be put off by the idea of drinking a pint next to a teenage ghost, Scott has said he's actually gained patrons thanks to the ghost nights he holds and the extra tourism he gets from visitors with a taste for the supernatural. All right, so... All right, let me shrink this down so I get the entire picture here. All right, so this is in the cellar. I call this the First Avenue theory. Take a look at this.
That's a lot of electronic equipment.
That's a big old electric...
it's a big grid that's forming, what is it, an EVP cage or something like that? Or EMF?
That's a lot cage. That's a lot of EMF in a damp cellar near a well.
Yeah, I can see the creepy feelings because look at those cords. They're not even covered.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no wonder everybody's feeling. I can
see the creepy feeling is
yep.
There's so much power in that one little area.
There's got to be a lot of loose EMF around that area.
Yeah, especially with those cords, the way that they're not even wrapped up. Like they're not covered by anything. They're just hanging there.
There's nothing insulated in that place.
No.
Yeah.
I get the creepy feeling. It doesn't explain the pint glass, but it explains the creepy feeling in the basement.
Yeah. Now, here's the theory, okay? So, as you know, okay, so with raw EMF floating around like that, you're bound to have heightened feelings of feeling like somebody's watching you or feeling like, you know, you're having a paranormal experience. But here's the thing. Now, do you feel that way because of the EMF, or is it really opening up a portal that may be bringing something through?
That's a good question, because spirits feed off energy, and technically that's all energy around you. So couldn't they feed off that to do something? I
don't know. I mean, it could be argued 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I tend to, if you take the scientific method here, you could just say, well, it's the EMF giving you that feeling.
I usually go with that when I'm doing investigations. If we find a place like that where basically all the electronic stuff's right next to each other and exposed like that is, you have to chalk it up to EMF. There's just so much EMF in that room.
Yeah,
so much electricity flowing through it. I mean, think about that. You stand, because it looked like the stairs. It looked like a banister. As soon as you step on that bottom stair, you're right inside you're surrounded by the EMF with all those wires and the 2 generators and stuff, or whatever they are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what it is.
I've been in basements where I've gone down and you have the fuse box right at the bottom of the stairs, and then right next to that's the heater, and they have their DVD entertainment center set up, and it's just like, okay, we're not going to get any readings here. Like this is too much.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. We got a couple of Parashare stories here, and then we have our last story of the day, and then we're done.
Sounds good.
You ready for this?
Yes, please.
This comes from Matt. He says, my brother and I moved with our grandparents after a long abuse history, and we finally had a safe place to stay. Shortly after moving in, we experienced a couple of weird things, like doors in other rooms closing with our family upstairs. We kind of ignored. Maybe 6 months passed. We have small things happen, and we hear some voices from other rooms. But doors close and they stop. We moved due to the relocation of my grandfather through work, and end up in a huge, beautiful home in the same city, maybe 30 minutes from each other by car. Our grandparents go to an open house with us, and my brother and I hear some voices from the basement and let them know, and they dismiss it and buy the home the week of. That's not very nice.
No.
We move in. We have a crawl space, but one side is carpeted. The other was blocked by a board painted over with a beautiful horse painting. We didn't know at the time behind the painting was another crawl space that was boarded up from the previous tenants. We lived there for a couple of months, hearing weird scratching downstairs when sleeping, but thought it was the cat because it was a 4-story home. But the vents carried noise like no tomorrow. My brother and I are looking after the house when our grandparents went out to dinner a few doors down at a friend's house. My brother is around 10 years old and myself around 6 years old, and we decided to see what the cat was scratching at, which was the wood, but we heard it from the other side. We thought, being young and dumb, it might be another cat or something from outside, so we try and move the wood, and it slides over like it's on a track, but it's not. It leaned against the wall, but we couldn't pull it away from the wall. We had a cat which we call P, and she ran in there so quick we couldn't stop her. As soon as she entered, she got so violent and angry and was swiping at the air in front of her like she was fighting something off. She then whimpered and ran to the right corner where there looked like a small chest she hid behind. We tried to crawl in, but she hissed so much at us and batted us off, we felt unsafe going in. Plus, there was such an eerie feeling poking your head in there. It was like it was complete darkness around you. We tried treats and everything. I was better at calming P and getting her to come to me, so my brother ran up and called my grandparents, and I tried to calm the cat. It was about 15 minutes of my cat, which she has practically never hissed in her 8 years, just suffering in there. My grandpa runs in and goes and takes the cat out and said, "Don't go in there. That is pure evil and whatever is down there." He boarded it up and put another brick wall in front so no one would try to go in there again. After he boarded it, we had a pastor from our church come in. I was young, so I was just playing video games and was told to leave the basement. After the pastor left, that's when my grandpa covered it all up. We don't talk about it much. I brought it up a little while ago, and we basically all agreed in details what truly happened. My family is Christian Mennonite heritage, and I believe we had a possible demon or evil entity in a part of the crawl space. Thank you for your time. Absolutely love the show. Keep up the amazing work, Matt.
Thank you, Matt. That's a great story.
So what do you think, Bruiser? What do they have down there in the crawl space?
I definitely think something evil and demonic. This goes back to what the cat thing that we were just talking about earlier. Because his cat never hissed or anything like that. And also now it goes in this crawl space. It's attacking something or being attacked by something, cowers and hides and won't come out. You know, cats don't cower and hide unless they're scared.
True.
They don't swipe at you unless they feel attacked.
I'm not going to go so far as to say it's a demon.
I'm not going to say demon, but I'm going to say something evil, something dark.
I won't even go that far. I'll tell you what you had. I think it was an elemental spirit, like a pukwudgie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you think that?
Because animals will react to a spirit that is like a trickster. And a pukwudgie is like a trickster, an elemental spirit. Mm. And that spirit will defend its space. So if an animal comes into that space, and when you come across like a pukwudgie or an elemental spirit, it feels defensive. It doesn't feel right. It feels icky.
And it will stay in one area, like this crawl space.
Yes, it'll take ownership of an area.
Okay, like that's its room. Don't bug it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it won't haunt the rest of the house. It'll just take ownership of that area. And it's attached to the land.
Okay.
So it might have been a spirit that, how should I put it? It's a spirit that belongs to the land.
Okay. Hence elemental.
Yeah, elemental. So it probably you stepped into its area, and that's why you got that feeling. And the cat went in and started to battle it, and it battled back.
Yeah.
By sealing up that area, you basically just kept yourself away from it. I don't.
Yeah, you're making it happy because no one will bother it now.
Yeah, I don't know that the holy man priest. My apologies. I don't remember what you called him. Pastor, priest. I think they said they were Mennonite.
Yeah.
I don't know that he did much, to be honest with you. Elementals can't be destroyed.
I was gonna say elementals you can just get out. You can't destroy.
Yeah. So
you can just move them basically.
I don't know that you can do that.
I've heard, can't you put them in something else to move them, like,
I think
essentially?
It's pretty tough. I don't know. There's that one up at the Palmer house. It's never been moved.
So basically them sealing it up is the best thing for both of them.
Yeah.
For both.
Just sealing it up is the best thing. Yeah. So, yeah, it's probably the best thing you could have done is just seal it up, not go in there. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's what you ran into there.
Matt,
yeah. I'm getting old. I'm like, Kevin, Matt, who are we talking to again? It was one of you.
This one was Matt.
Yeah, that one was Matt. So, yeah, one more here today on the show.
Well, wait, I do have to. Can they follow you? Because he said the first place they stayed at had stuff too.
I don't think this followed him.
No, you think that was already there because they had already sealed it off when they bought the house. It was already sealed.
Yeah, it was already sealed.
So whatever is happening at the other house was probably just a entity at that other house.
Yep. I think somebody already ran into this previously and sealed it, thinking we're just going to keep it there.
Yep. Put some artwork in front of it and no one will know the wiser.
Nobody will be the wiser. We're just going to seal it off and we're going to keep it at that. So, yeah, I think that's what happened. And you just... And by putting something in front of it, I think they thought, you know what, we're just going to keep it behind this barrier. No one's ever going to go in there.
Yeah.
And it'll remind us not to go in there. And you just cross that barrier and put yourself in front of it. And of course, they're not going to go to you and go, you know, hey, there's a spirit in there. Don't go in there. Nobody would ever do that.
Right.
So.
Grandpa seemed like he knew.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure Grandpa might have had a run-in with it.
Yeah.
But he just wasn't going to tell you. He didn't want to scare you. So.
Well, and that's that generation thing, too, where that generation didn't believe in stuff like that.
Or they might have believed in it, but they weren't going to tell you.
Yeah.
They weren't going to scare you.
Right.
Yeah. So. Our last Parashare story comes from Val. She says, I work in a manufacturing plant. The company is pretty small in size. It is repetitive work and boring as hell, which is why I love Darkness Radio. Because we're boring as hell, too? No, I'm kidding. I enjoy the banter between Cruiser and the Bruiser. And from a fellow fatty, I love the food talk.
All right.
But I digress. Oh, by the way, you know what? Oh, speaking of, if we can just sidebar here, Val, if you're ready for this.
Yeah.
You know, I tell you about Jelly Bean and Julia.
Oh, you got to. You got to. Okay. You went there Saturday because I saw you post a picture of you at the radio station, so I knew you went.
Oh, can I tell you this?
Yes,
Saturday, I stopped by Jelly Bean and Julia. You ready for this?
Yeah.
They had two different things on the menu. I had to try one of them.
Okay.
Of course, you know, they both involve brisket, but are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Brisket poutine.
Oh.
Yeah, buddy.
That is one thing I miss from living up in the Midwest is the poutine.
Oh.
And then you throw some brisket on there. Oh.
I think I just made some Canadians orgasm when I said that.
Yeah, you did.
Brisket poutine. So it's their amazing brisket, gravy, seasoned fries, cheese curds.
I had a hell of a brisket sandwich in Kansas City.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, so you okay? So you
I
got the.
When you're in Kansas City, you got to get some brisket, and I had some sweet potato fries.
Yeah.
Oh.
Where'd you go in Kansas City?
It was actually in the airport.
Really?
Yeah, there was a little restaurant at the airport, and I saw the brisket sandwich. And I'm like, are you serving? Because it was real early in the morning. This is, yeah, we serve it all the time. And I'm like, all right, I'll give it a try, you know?
Yeah.
Oh.
Good stuff.
So good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Expensive because it was airport food, but.
Hell, it's worth it, though.
Yeah.
So brisket poutine, the other thing, which I didn't get to try, I wanted to, but Corey claims it might come back. But are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Peanut butter and strawberry habanero jam and brisket sandwich.
Now, I'd be curious about it, but I'm scared about the habanero because I don't handle spice really well.
I don't either. That's the thing. I hear habanero and I go, might be too hot for my blood, but you know what?
But I've heard that with peanut butter, like when it's a jam like that, because there's the burger company, I believe it's called, in Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. They have a peanut butter and strawberry habanero jam, and I tried it, and no burn whatsoever. It was so delicious.
Really?
Yeah. But I'm like you. I hear habanero, and the first thing I think of is
my mouth burning. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's got me so curious.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm curious too.
Yeah. But
brisket's so good.
Oh, and of course I picked up my side pound of brisket as well. So I had that for the weekend, and so then I had my extra brisket on Sunday while I watched the Vikings tank against the Raiders and that fake football. Yeah.
Yeah, it's preseason. Doesn't matter.
It's fake football. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just sat and watched. I watched the terrible backup quarterbacks we have for the Vikings. But yeah,
you have a terrible starting quarterback too. So
well, he was out with COVID. You didn't hear
that? No, I didn't.
Yeah, he's so worthless. He had COVID in the preseason.
You gotta think I'm down in the Panther territory, so all I hear about is Panthers.
Oh, you got what's his nuts?
We got
starting for you.
The old Cleveland guy, Baker.
Yeah, you got Baker Mayfield. Yeah. Congrats.
Who, for some reason, Mrs. Bruiser thinks is an amazing quarterback. And has nothing to do with his football playing.
Is she dipping into your gummies?
No, it's all the those commercials they used to have where he'd be at home at the stadium.
Oh, so she's been hypnotized by Progressive?
Yep. So now I'm forced to watch Baker Mayfield stuff. The reason that we took Thanksgiving in Ohio and went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was because of Baker Mayfield and Alice Cooper, because they had that commercial where the boots were dropped off.
Seriously?
Yeah. So now that we're here and he's signed with the Panthers, we were going to go to Panther games anyways because I like the Panthers.
Yeah.
And she was kind of like hemming and hawing because I like Christian McCaffrey. I think he's a great player. And if he's healthy, and she's like, well, I guess we'll go when they play the Packers, because obviously we're Packer fans.
Yeah.
And then they announced Baker Mayfield. She's like, I'm going to look into like 4 or 5 games for us to go to. I'm like,
God.
What? Huh? Where'd this come from?
She's
looking at the season tickets and stuff. I'm like, what?
She's a big fan of interceptions.
That's what I said. I said, he's not the greatest quarterback. He's okay. He's top 10, but he's not this elite Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers quarterback.
I think you're stretching it with top 10. He's probably right around Cousins' area of like middle of the pack. Maybe,
yeah. But it's just she's obsessed with him. She thinks, and it has nothing to do with his football playing. It's all the commercials. So
good luck.
That's my life, Tim. That's my life.
I think Darnold's going to be starting midseason, but that's just me.
I don't. He can't stay healthy.
Well, Baker falls apart midseason too.
Oh, you're right. His thumbs.
His thumbs, his shoulder.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, he's going to be walking wounded by midseason. So.
Well, I'll let you know what the stadium food tastes like. How about that?
Yeah, please do. let me know if there's any Carolina barbecue there at the stadium.
Yeah.
I'm sure they've got good food there.
Because when she said that, I'm like, well, then I'm just going to focus on the food. Because there's games that I just don't care about.
Yeah.
Like, I like the Panthers. Don't get me wrong. I think they're a fun football team.
Yeah.
But they're never going to be they're not playoff contenders. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it'll be one of those things where we'll see who they're playing. And if it's some team that I want to go see who they're playing,
Yeah. Well, let us know how the food is at the stadium.
Yeah.
Anyways, Val, sorry, that was our little bit of food talk for you. That's
hey, Val, we can blame you for this.
That's right.
You set us off on that tangent.
That's right. All right. So Val says one coworker was probably in her late 60s. All her children were grown and out of the house. not living in this area. Our supervisor was probably in his late 40s, and he was married with stepchildren, but they were both in college and were out of the area at the time. Then there was me in my late 20s, no kids. The machine I was running at the time was in the front of the building, and my other two coworkers worked in the back of the building. The three of us each had our own jobs in our own departments, so we didn't really talk except for breaks or if someone needed help with something. Most nights I would catch shadows out of the corner of my eye, or I would feel like someone was standing behind me, and I would turn around and no one was there. Even though no one was there, I would still jump like someone was there. I've had those feelings before.
Yeah, I have too.
This one particular night, I was working and listening to music when suddenly this little blonde-haired boy pops up in front of me. Oh, that's weird. I could only see half of his body because of the table that was between him and I. I'm not great with ages, but I would say he was probably around 8 or 9. He had freckles spilling around his nose onto his cheeks and wore a green and yellow striped shirt. The colors were off, almost like they were faded, all of him and not just the clothes he was wearing. The colors just seemed faded, and he just stood and stared at me. I, of course, jumped and let out a little yelp from being startled by a freaking ghost kid. I don't blame you.
That was an amazing description.
Yeah.
Freaking ghost kid.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it was more than a yelp, but this was my first ghost kid sighting. I screamed a little bit. I heard my supervisor call out from the back of the building to see if I was okay. I glanced up to see him making his way towards me. Then when I looked back at the boy, he was gone. Not a lot of people believed me when I said what happened. Friends that didn't work there would try to reason it out like, oh, maybe one of your coworkers' kids were there, or some kid walked in off the street. And what, the kid just vanishes into thin air, gone without a trace?
And why would a kid just randomly walk into a manufacturing plant?
Exactly, right.
Like, oh, I've been watching this girl all night long. I'm going to get her.
I'm just going to jump out in front of her. Also, our building is out in the middle of nowhere. There's the main road about a mile from our building, but no one just wanders in off the street, and none of us who were working that night had kids of that age. But no one thought I saw a ghost kid except for 2 people. The third shift supervisor who said she thought the building was haunted, and my mom because, well, she believes in ghost stuff. Those were the 2 people who said they believed in her. Also, when my mom started working at the same factory that I do, she had her own ghost experience. She saw a man in the back of the building when she was working third shift, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. He was standing at one of the machines. I still work in the same building, but I don't run the same machine, and I have moved to the first shift, which is from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. I haven't seen any full-body ghosts again, but I have been tapped on the shoulder on 3 separate occasions. Physically tapped on the shoulder, and no one was around me.
Okay.
She says it's not scary or crazy, but it's the only time I've seen a ghost or been tapped by something not visible to my eye. Thanks for making my workdays more enjoyable. Lots of love, Val.
Thank you for making our workday more enjoyable. That was a fantastic story.
Yeah, it is. Thank you, Val. We appreciate it. Again,
you should talk to the other people on other shifts to see if anybody else has had any experiences.
Well, it sounds like people aren't open to it, though.
A couple, yeah. But I mean, that third shift supervisor, she said she thinks it's haunted. She should ask her why. Why do you think that? And if she mentions a boy popping up wearing the same clothes, there you go. There's your justification or your
true.
What is it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I gotcha. Again, if you have a Parashare experience, write into us, tim@darknessradio.com. Just send an email to us. We will share it with you on the air. If you want us to weigh in, we'll do that as well.
And you'll give us new catchphrases like freaking ghost child.
Freaking ghost kid. That's right. That's right.
Ghost kid.
That's right. One last story here, Bruiser, before we leave you today. Earlier in the program, you teased it. You said what people do with their remains.
Yep. You can be planted as a tree.
You can be planted as a tree. You can be made into a record album.
You can be tattooed in someone's skin.
That's right. You can be tattooed into someone's skin. There's lots of things you can do with your remains. There are some people who tend to be more biblical. Let's say you shouldn't do anything with your body because you never know. You could be resurrected and walk the earth again.
Yeah.
You could be a religious zombie if you want to be. I don't know.
My brother takes people's ashes and puts them in. He makes glass pendants for people.
Really?
Yeah. He's very careful with the ashes, and he's very, he respects the ashes and stuff, and he makes the glass pendant, and he mixes the ashes right. It's very beautiful. He did it with my when my cousin passed away. He did it for my aunt.
Wow.
It's a very beautiful artwork.
That's cool.
I asked him, I said, isn't that kind of creepy? You're dealing with, human ashes. He goes, I try not to think of that. Because we've had experiences as kids, obviously.
Yeah.
So he tries not to think of that because he's not like me. He knows there's paranormal out there, but he doesn't seek it out.
Yeah. I'm sure he there's certain people that have to tune that out.
Yeah, and he's one of them.
Yeah.
He knows it's there, and he's had experiences since we moved and stuff, and he acknowledges the experiences. He'll say, I know you're there, but leave me alone. I need to, whatever.
Yep. Need to get the job done.
Yep.
Well, although we tend to respect our dead and have respect for their remains, it turns out that many, many moons ago, they might not have had as much respect for the dead and might have thought that the remains were just that. They were just remains. So they put them to good use.
What kind of good use are we talking about, Tim?
Well, it turns out the Maya may have played ball games with the ashes of their cremated rulers. Rule the village one day, be used as a ball the next.
Yeah, why not? Hey, how do we acknowledge that he's been a great leader? How do we celebrate him as a leader? I got it. Let's make him into a ball and kick him around.
I'm gonna knock Quetzalcoatl over the fence. Researchers believe that the ashes of cremated Maya rulers were used to create rubber balls used in ball games.
Okay.
The peculiar claim comes courtesy of archaeologist Juan, I believe it's Yadun Angulo, and colleagues who believe they've found evidence of such a practice at the Maya city of Tonina in southern Mexico. While the specifics are unclear, the Maya were known to have played a type of ball game involving two teams of players on a court shaped like an uppercase letter I.
So, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Multiple examples of such courts have been discovered in the ruins of ancient Maya cities. The claim that human ashes were used to make balls is based on Angulo's discovery of a crypt beneath the Temple of the Sun in Tonina, which holds some 400 vessels filled with organic material. An analysis of these materials has since revealed that they contain the cremated remains of the city's leaders, and these would have likely been used to produce the rubber used in these balls.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Well, the prince there, he helps the ball with a heck of a curveball.
I guess, yeah. Depictions of these rulers found on the courts themselves also seem to add credence to the theory. Not everyone, however, is convinced by the team's findings. Some experts, such as anthropologist Professor James Fitzsimmons of Middlebury College in Vermont, maintain that even if the Maya had used cremated remains for this purpose, it's highly unlikely that they would have used the remains of their rulers.
It doesn't matter. It still remains.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it wouldn't have been the Posh and Tony.
He's not reading the room at all, is he? He's not reading the room like.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't the higher ups. It was the slaves. That's what they used.
It was the lower class they would have used. They wouldn't have used the rulers, by God. As things stand, more information will be needed before it will be possible to know for sure. Well, it doesn't matter if there's a headdress sitting next to the remains or if there's
It's the fact they use human remains to make baseballs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Put the king over the fence.
Is that extra point? So if you use one of the lower like scribes or whatever, it's only a point. But then you use a king, you get 2 extra bonus points.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. So
King in play, king in play. You got to totally adjust your defensive scheme.
The wind up the pitch, and the King's just a bit outside, 2-0. You got it. It all comes back to the broadcasting voice.
It does. It all comes back to the Don Imus Harry Carey.
That's right. 2-0. Pitcher looks in. Here's the pitch, just a bit outside, 3-0.
Then he hits the home run. Yeah. Get up, get out of here. The King is gone.
The King is gone.
Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has left the building.
Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has left the building. Did I ever tell you? We've told the story before on the air, but have I ever told you about the biggest mistake I've ever heard in a baseball game before?
No, you haven't.
We'll leave you on the air this fine Wednesday with the biggest mistake I ever heard in broadcasting. Sometimes when you're puking and you're talking on the air like this, your lips tend to slip around. They say some of the words improperly. And we had a guy named Rick down in college when he was broadcasting. He used to broadcast like this. He used to talk a lot like this. He was doing a baseball game for Winona State University for the Warriors. And he said, pitcher's on the mound right now, and he's not got a lot of good control. He's pitching erotically. And I said, what did he just say? Because I'm back at the station board hopping. I was like,
well, that's where the pitcher does a doo-doo.
Exactly.
And he's doing that little wind up,
feeling himself up with the baseball. Yeah. He's rubbing the baseball on his chest, trying to get a
doing
mark
the slow lick on it. Like, here it comes.
Now that's a spitball. Let me tell you something. Yeah.
Did you have to let him know he said it?
I did between.
What did he say? Like, I didn't even know.
You get on the talkback and you go, "What is pitching erotically?" I don't know. I just said erotically. Sorry. I meant erratically. Not erotically.
Surprising, that pitcher is now married with 73 kids.
He does have like 4 or 5 kids, and they all play baseball.
It's all the erotic pitching.
That's right. It's all the erotic pitching in the bedroom.
Yeah, when he's in the bedroom, he's not just a bit outside.
Hey, honey, I'm on the mound. I'm going to throw it in. Here we go. 2-0.
High and tight.
Couple of balls coming at you. So that'll do it for today. That's your supernatural news and Parashare. We appreciate you listening today. Listening into the Cruiser and the Bruiser here on the Supernatural News and Parashare. We'll have more coming up for you tomorrow. Tomorrow we got Shane Cashman in the house. He'll be talking about lost gold of the Confederacy.
That'll be exciting to hear.
Talking about a little place in Georgia where they're looking out for ghosts. They got ghosts coming out of everywhere. They're coming out of the ground, coming out of the sky, coming out of places, talking to people about Confederate gold. They also got a woman who's paranoid about poodles. We'll talk about that tomorrow.
That's right.
Coming out
poodles are the aliens.
That's right. We got aliens coming out of the sky. You got ghosts coming out of the ground. And we got poodles looking at you funny. It's coming up tomorrow. Cruiser with the Bruiser right here on Darkness Radio.
Great sign off.
How's that for a promo for tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys are probably sick of the broadcaster voice by now. I can imagine. You're probably throwing stuff at your listening device. So yeah, tomorrow, Shane Cashman.
Val's hoping that the little child pops up to distract her from it.
That's right. She's like, where's the ghost kid? Where's the ghost kid? Somebody reached through the listening device and strangled Tim. Yeah, so tomorrow, Shane Cashman joining us on Darkness Radio. We'll talk about Georgia, and about his, he's got some weird things that happened to him as he went there looking for lost Confederate gold. And yes, UFOs, yes, plenty of strange ghosts, including a Confederate general. And yes, we are talking about poodles and how a woman believes poodles are actually a combination of the government and some sort of alien technology, and how poodles are out to destroy you. I don't know. It's all in there. It's all in there. So that's tomorrow on Darkness Radio. Bruiser, tell people where you're going to be.
It's Wednesday, so I'm at the AML Training Center, training the future. And then Saturday, Bristol, Tennessee. Me versus Jason Kincaid for Imperial Pro Wrestling. And I'm very excited because some listeners have reached out to me on social media, said they're going to be there. So I can't wait to meet our listeners. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Can we watch this on pay-per-view? Yeah, they just released it. You can watch it on pay-per-view. Check out my social medias for the link. It's only $9.99, I believe. And you're getting a heck of a show. There is so many former Ring of Honor guys, WWE guys, NWA guys. Like, this guy's putting some money into this, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I believe it's titlematch.com, right? I believe that's what it is. Okay. I've shared it all across all my platforms. So, yeah, it's only $9.99. So if you want to see the good old Bruiser, go on there. There you go. You're tuning in to see me so the promoter can bring me back. There you go. So check that out. Check out Bruiser's social media to see where you can see him on Saturday night on pay-per-view. It's a good price, and you can see what exactly Bruiser does when he's not here talking paranormal. So there you go. Of course, Michigan Paracon coming up the weekend of the 25th through the 27th. Come on out and see me in Michigan. There's still weekend passes available. SaultStMarie.com. That's SaultSte Marie.com. Get your weekend passes. Come on out to Michigan Paracon and come say hi to me. That's I'll be speaking with Tim Weisberg Friday morning, 10 o'clock. And we're going to be talking about the creepy, the scary, and some of the silly and the paranormal. We're going to have a good time on Friday morning right there at Michigan Paracon. So that'll do it for today's show. Thank you very much for tuning in, folks. We'll see you tomorrow with Shane Cashman right here on the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio.